Deep within the sacred walls of the Vatican, the heart of Catholicism's spiritual authority, lies a world few dare to speak of openly. A world where the battle between good and evil is fought not only in spiritual doctrines but also in the shadows, behind closed doors, and within the very corridors of the Holy See. This is a story of darkness infiltrating the most sacred place on earth, of demons lurking where angels are supposed to dwell, and of the relentless fight waged by those sworn to combat evil. A whisper of darkness in the holy sanctuary. It all begins with a haunting statement from a man revered in the Catholic world, Father Gabriele Amorth, the legendary chief exorcist of Rome. For decades, Father Amorth was the Church's frontline soldier against demonic possession. His words echoed through history. "I have seen Satan within 100 feet of the Pope." Such a statement sent shockwaves through the spiritual community, challenging the very notion that evil could penetrate the sanctity of the Vatican's walls. Father Amorth served under multiple popes, John Paul II, Benedict XVI, and Francis, and conducted over 70,000 exorcisms during his lifetime. His work was not mere ritual, it was a spiritual warfare, a confrontation with entities that defy human understanding. Yet, amidst the countless battles, one revelation stood out: the possibility that Satan had indeed infiltrated the highest echelons of the Church itself. The first signs: a woman's terrifying encounter. In the early 2000s, a woman from Germany arrived at the Vatican claiming to be tormented by an invisible force, an evil she could neither see nor explain. Her story was harrowing. She described violent sensations, terrifying visions, and an oppressive presence that haunted her every moment. The Church decided to bring her into the sacred Basilica, hoping that prayer and divine intervention could help. What transpired next became legendary among exorcists and spiritual scholars. During a public prayer session, the woman suddenly erupted into screams in languages unknown to her, languages that were not part of her linguistic repertoire. Her voice changed drastically, transforming into a guttural, demonic tone. Her body contorted unnaturally. She began shouting secrets about people around her, details that she could not have possibly known. Witnesses reported a chilling moment when her face seemed to morph, her eyes glowing with an unnatural light. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, the possession ceased. The woman collapsed, and a palpable silence filled the basilica. The Pope, John Paul II, gently placed his hand on her head and prayed silently. Witnesses later confirmed that the demonic manifestation had disappeared, and she was left trembling but free from the malevolent force. Father Amorth confirmed years later that this was no hysteria or psychological episode. It was a genuine demonic possession, and it was subdued only when Christ's name was invoked. The Pope's personal encounters with darkness. This wasn't an isolated incident. In 2014, Pope Francis himself was recorded placing a hand on a young man in St. Peter's Square. The man suddenly convulsed, his body jerking uncontrollably. Journalists captured the moment, and the footage sparked widespread speculation. Vatican officials called it a prayer, but seasoned exorcists argued differently. They asserted that such signs of possession, violent movements, unnatural expressions, are clear indicators of demonic influence. These events underline a startling truth. The Vatican maintains a dedicated team of trained exorcists, clergy who have undergone specialized spiritual and psychological training to confront the forces of darkness. Exorcisms are not performed casually. They are carefully orchestrated rituals rooted in ancient rites and modern spiritual warfare technique. The reality of demonic possession and the Church's response. Acceptance of demonic possession within the Church's doctrine is undeniable. Officially, the Vatican acknowledges that evil spirits can inhabit, influence, and even oppress individuals. The fight against these malevolent entities is ongoing, and the Church's exorcists operate in secret, often working behind the scenes to protect those afflicted. Father Amorth famously stated, "Satan is real. and he hates the Church most of all because it is the last barrier between him and the world. His words emphasize that the battle is not only spiritual but also existential. The Church sees itself as a frontline defense against the darkness that seeks to destroy faith, hope, and salvation. The hidden war behind sacred walls. But what lies behind the grandeur of St. Peter's Basilica and the papal offices? Are there darker forces at play within the Vatican itself? Many insiders and spiritual skeptics believe so. There are whispers of corruption, betrayal, and moral decay among some clergy, elements that weaken the Church's spiritual armor and open doors for demonic infiltration. Some experts suggest that these internal flaws, coupled with the chaos of modern society, materialism, moral relativism, and spiritual apathy, create vulnerabilities for evil to seep through. The battle is not merely against external demons but also against the internal corruption that can weaken the Church's spiritual defenses. The eternal struggle: faith, vigilance, and warfare. Father Gabriele Amorth's final words remain provocative and powerful. Satan is real, and he hates the Church most of all because it stands as the last barrier between him and the world. The Church's fight against evil is ongoing, often unseen by the public eye. It involves prayers, rituals, and a steadfast belief that divine power can overcome darkness. In recent years, stories of supernatural encounters, whether confirmed or debated, have increased. From reports of possessed individuals in remote regions to documented instances within the Vatican itself, the evidence suggests that the spiritual war is very much alive. The clergy's role is not only to perform sacraments but also to confront and dispel the presence of evil. The final reflection. As you look upon the majestic facade of St. Peter's Basilica, remember, beneath its beauty lies a battlefield. The fight between light and darkness continues in the unseen realm, behind locked doors and silent prayers. The Vatican, as the spiritual stronghold of Christianity, is not immune to the forces of evil. In fact, it may be their most targeted location. The stories of demonic possession, exorcisms, and spiritual warfare serve as a stark reminder that evil is a real, tangible force, and the fight against it requires faith, vigilance, and the courage to confront what lurks in the shadows. Because, ultimately, the war is not just fought with crosses or prayers, it is fought with unwavering belief that divine power can triumph over darkness. And sometimes, the most profound battles happen behind the closed doors of the Vatican itself.